Oh, that's what she said.
No, for Sophia.
Oh, man.
Welcome back, guys. We're the Comic Book Corps. My name is Kurosh.
I'm Briston.
These are nameless. And we're going to go... No, this is
called the Heartless. It's a different group.
This is Canada's Victor. And we're going to be going into our favorite picks of 2010 and why we love them so much. They have a special place in our hearts. And we just want to express that with the rest of you because we thought you would care.
If you don't, we're sorry.
Do you?
Yeah, you're sorry.
You have to stay, though. We need the hits, so stay here. Watch.
Alright, so we're going to go with favorite story / event for each of us. So, Briston, how about you start us off?
I got most wanted, world's most wanted for Iron Man. Technically, it's 2 because the first one concluded back like in 09, and then 010 came around.
It's 2 what?
Back in the...
What?
It's 2 what? It's 2?
Two
Part
stories.
2.
Part 2?
Part 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just
Oh.
making
Smart.
it clear.
No. The main reason I like it, besides it being Iron Man, I liked how it dealt with Tony's insecurities about him being
White.
white, rich, amazing. No, his insecurities about him being a perfectionist and dealing with his own failures. He feels that he's always failed everybody in life, even though he's done his best. He points out, like, you know, being in S.H.I.E.L.D., he was trying to help out everyone, and it still went wrong with the whole Secret Invasion event. He points out to Civil War at some point, saying, you know, I was trying to help out people, and instead I create this huge-ass fiasco, and I ended up fighting... he ends up getting Cap killed and whatnot. What?
I ended up fighting. Are you Tony?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, I am.
This is why these are our favorite stories, because we delved into it and we're a part of it.
Yeah, he delves in that narrative storytelling point.
Yeah.
And...
No, you were Hope.
Of course.
Hello?
Hello,
Hello, Hope. Yeah.
Hope?
Come on.
See it? The writing's
Why
on
is
the
it
wall,
your
sir.
pick?
This
Why
guy.
is it your
This
pick?
guy. This guy.
Doesn't even know DJ Blue Lantern's in the house.
What?
Oh,
And the
snap!
Blind Club.
But, I enjoyed seeing the deeper side of Tony, and we get some cool fights and whatnot between, you know, him and Rhodes, Crimson Dynamo, and Osborn at the very end. And how it concludes was really nice. Tony?
This is actually one of the few times I've enjoyed... There's been like one of the 2 other times I've enjoyed Iron Man. And I don't enjoy Iron Man because to me he's a Batman character who's like, you know, I'm rich, I end up becoming a superhero. But he's just like, I want to be rich and be a drunk and I'll run around just like hitting women whenever, like not hitting women, but tapping women, as I should say. And like
Inspirational.
Exactly, he's inspirational to some people. But like he's just like, he's the playboy. But Batman, when he becomes Batman, he's like, I'm now the Dark Knight. Iron Man just like, I'm still the playboy, let's get some ladies up in the house, and he doesn't have that conscience that I care for. But in this one, because his personality, his mind's basically being erased from within, he's trying to get rid of information that's in there. And so he starts to have to look back at, like you said, look back at his failures, and he becomes more human in this, and more just like as a character who's actually concerned with his own, not just concerned with himself, but also concerned with how he's affected people. In the past, I haven't seen that. That's why I like this one, actually. I
like the dynamic between him and his supporting cast, as well as the antagonist, which is Norman Osborn, for a good part of this. And it was kind of fun seeing, you know, I always like it when I feel it's interesting when you take villains of other characters and bring them in and see how they interact with other heroes. So you have like Norman, who's Spider-Man's villain, coming in and dealing with Tony on a kind of like military, political,
peers.
like their peers in
Their
that
peers,
level.
yeah.
I kind of feel like that's like the equivalent of Lex Luthor fighting against Batman, maybe.
Right.
If you want to make an analogy.
Yeah, join the correlation.
Yeah, as I tried to point out earlier, you know, I'm a little spaced out, and you know, I'm focused. And as Ken pointed out, the way Fraction writes Tony is just wonderful. I like how he just goes in depth into the character, rather than playing around with a playboy, and just dealing with the internal issues. I'm repeating myself, yes, I know, but I like to.
Like I was pointing out about the supporting cast, I like how they draw in on what's her name?
Pepper.
Pepper and Hill.
Yeah,
Maria Hill.
Yeah.
I like.
There's also a great bit there too they had with Madame Mask, and like they draw back on
right,
that.
yeah.
And he doesn't have to feel these repercussions because the character he was before. Before he'd sleep with this people and be like, "It was good, bye." And I've had better. And he's off on his next adventure. And this time he actually has to look back, like, you know, there's a point in, I don't want to ruin too much for you, but he's actually basically held a gunpoint and asked like point blank questions, and he has to answer them to the best of his abilities. And they actually, Fraction does a good job of making him be a character where like I actually care that he's in peril here.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like, he's in a suit of armor, he's fine, I don't care. Like, he just seems so untouchable inside there.
I think that was with Madame Mask again. I'm not sure when he was tied up and she questioned him, if I remember right.
Yeah. All in all,
Spoiler! Sorry.
It was a pretty good story.
You should have read it by now.
And I like Sawyer from Lost.
Yeah, Sawyer. They cast the guy who plays Sawyer as Tony Stark in this.
After he comes back from the island.
After he comes back
spoiler, they fly off at the end.
He goes and becomes.
He gets a settlement check from the Oceanic Airlines, and he gets
These guys love you.
Becomes a genius.
These guys love you.
All right, my pick for best story event was Thanos Imperative, which I feel was the Expendables in space, as I've said
very imperative.
Abbott and Lanning, again, doing another space kind of odyssey thing, and I feel like watching it go from where it was with Annihilation, following these characters like Star-Lord and Quasar and them, you see them grow, and you see like a history. You saw the history build, and now they're like referencing back to Annihilation, like, oh, you remember back when we were dealing with Annihilus and this shit? It's like, yeah, man, that was... Okay.
Months ago.
Yeah, dog. I'll remember that ish.
All in all,
Rocket Raccoon, he's so hilarious.
Group!
they were from the Hood as well.
Space Hood.
Space Hood, yeah. But I liked how they brought in Thanos, as the title implies, and how he deals with death, and how the whole thing dealt with death. I thought Blackest Night had a certain narrative that went with it, but they had the same kind of setting, but they went a different route with it. They said, let's say a world where there is no death. What happens to it? It's filled with so much life that it ends up bringing no meaning to life has no value. And so it eventually tries to pour over into our galaxy, and these heroes are fighting, and they're pairing up with people who they never thought they'd team up with. And they just go on an all-out mission to end this. And I love the Annihilators when they team up. They have Silver Surfer and Gladiator and all them, and they were just badass. From the moment they were teamed up and everything, I thought it was a great team up. Well written, love the story, love the action, everything was there that I wanted. And the art was amazing too. Sepulveda was part of it from the beginning. He kind of went away for a little while, right?
Yeah, Brad Walker worked on some of the stuff for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, and
Ramos did some work too.
He did, yes, he did, and it ended on a great note. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the space parts of the space characters and whatnot for the Marvel universe. It was a great story.
You know, originally I hated this because the idea of Thanos coming back really pissed me off. I did not like that. But the way it was written and how...
This is going to really piss you off. It's called Blackest Night. There's not much people coming back
Thanos
to that.
is not in that. I don't care. No. But it was really well written and surprised me because, you know, I heard from Krosh when he was reading it, it's like, you know, as he said, it's like the Expendables and all. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go through. I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty good. And a couple of the scenes I really liked too. Some of the, I think it's a giant splash with spoilers with like Galactus and whatnot.
Yeah, Galactus has a lot of shining moments in this. It was awesome. Did you guys get a chance to read this?
Yeah, pieces of it.
Yeah, same here.
All right, Victor.
Okay. I went with X-Men Second Coming. It's kind of a sequel to the Messiah Complex that happened like 3 or 4 years ago.
And Messiah War, right?
Yeah, Messiah War, which is kind of like, they put like an in-between type of sequel, but it's a smaller story and kind of just showed the progression from one story to the next. This, basically in Messiah Complex, you had this first mutant born since, you know, since M-Day, and her name was Hope. This shows her like coming back from the future, all grown up, like what, 16, 17 years old, and she's basically now the Hope. Well, her name's Hope, and she's like the glimmer of light for the rest of the mutants. At the same time, there's Bastion and the group of Sentinels and Nimrod Sentinels out to kill them and just destroy the whole mutant race. And it's basically all the X-Men grouping together and trying to protect Hope and save the mutant race. And it's a pretty epic story. The art is incredible. The writing is just astonishing and uncanny. I was saving that one. And then like it really touches you with some of the, because a lot of, since, you know, they're trying to save the mutant race, a lot of X-Men members sacrifice their lives. And I actually mentioned one of the deaths in a previous episode when I was reviewing an issue of Wolverine Weapon X. And I don't want to spoil it like I did then, but it's a death that kind of like, because it's such a beloved character, it does put a tear to your eye. You get choked up and hug Ken for hours on. I mean, you get choked up and feel. It's so hard.
Power through that.
Okay. But yeah, it's definitely a good read. You could read it all in one shot. It's worth it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I insist.
No, please.
Hey,
So
before
anyway,
beauty.
so like I was saying,
I'm old.
no, we can't see the crow's feet.
What I was going to mention, there's a lot of good points in it too. Like as like they always have with these events, it's like it almost seems like it's so grand. It doesn't really. It glosses over things. But there's great moments where Hope's like, I don't see how I'm supposed to be that important. Like I'm just me. I'm just as far as her worlds exist, it's really just her and Cable. And then them coming back to supposedly save the mutant race, she really doesn't even know what that means. She's just like, I'm a mutant, I guess, and he's a mutant, but what does that mean? He doesn't even have powers technically anymore. Like she hasn't gained hers yet. It's really kind of a weird place for her to be this messiah for the mutants. And it has good moments for that. It also has some of the X-Men meeting her for the first time, so to speak, and they're kind of like, they expect something from her, but some of them know like that she's just a kid running scared, and that they felt the same thing when they first came out as mutants.
Well, there are still others that are expecting her to do something in a minute to save them.
They almost want her to like, all right, do your thing, and she's like, what thing? And she's she's just a kid, and it kind of brings that focus back on the fact that when it first came out, they were just kids trying to figure out what their place in the world, and this is hers. But she's being forced into it. She's not. It's not like she's finding her place. It's like they're giving her a place. This is where you have to be. And it's like, is that where I fit? And that has little moments in there, and they build to something later on. But it's got those great moments in there. And also a good thing too is, as he said, it's all the X-Men coming back together because they need to save her to save the mutant race.
Yeah.
But on the counterpoint, they have Bastion, who's gone back and resurrected some of the old great villains that like Stryker and all these guys, Cameron Hodge, these characters that have supposedly been dead, and used the techno-organic virus to bring them all back, and now they're somewhat like zombies, computer things. But he's got these great named villains who are intelligent and smart, and they're now plotting against the X-Men, and they've got good parts there too.
Yeah, who was there? Just one writer, or was it collaboration?
No, it was a collaboration of the writers from New Mutants. So you had like Zeb Wells, you had the writers of X-Force,
Fraction,
you had Matt Fraction, you had Mike Carlin. No, not Mike Carlin.